Okay, a dear friend of mine from way back. He's probably gonna tell you the story a lot better than I can. But a man who not only believed in himself, like we always talk about, tremendously believed in himself, and believed in my vision and my dream for youth. Some of you guys played with the truth when we were kids, and you understand we look like we look now. We had several uniforms and cleats and everything, all because of a dream and a vision of this man. I call him a friend. I call him my homie, my boss, my partner. He's just been there when no one else was there. And I love him to life. And his vision and his dream and his thoughts is unbelievable and surreal. This is the man, I don't even know how many titles to give you, but he is everything for UA. Started this from the basement, right? Started this from the darn basement and worked his butt off. And I can remember I started wearing sleeves, and I called the company and ordered some sleeves, and they called me back and said how much they cost. I said, cool. Had the secretary cut the check, sent them the sleeves, and unbelievable, they sent them to me, and unbeknownst, pretty much what he's blessed me with probably been 10,000 times what those sleeves cost, but I was a good steward in paying for those sleeves and not expecting them for free. With no further ado, this is Kevin Plank.
Coach, it's a privilege being here. Thank you all. Red and blue. I got it. So we spent time about a year ago, and as Under Armour, we got to go out and we got to see some of our schools. Made it to Notre Dame, made it to Auburn, made it to Texas Tech. We didn't make it here yet. We had that on our list. You all got a big ball game this weekend. So we want to come down and want to see you. More importantly, we want to be able to give you. And hopefully what that gift is me maybe telling you a little bit of our story. And then also we get something from that, right? That's the quid pro quo of life. And so in our life, there's three things I really want to convey to you. Is I want to talk to you about building your team, because you guys got to worry about football right now. But I also want to make sure you're thinking about life. What happens next? What those next chapters are. Because what you have right now with the ability is the same thing, the same experience that I had before I went and had the opportunity to build Under Armour. And that was just, as I say, build your network. From building our network, it talks about betting on ourselves. There's nobody who bets on themselves better than Coach. And then with that, it's also remember to keep the main thing the main thing. Right now, you guys have books and you got ball. You need to make sure that you keep your eye on both of those things. So for me, I want to start today. I'm not going to take a lot of time, but I'm going to take you through those three things that matter, and I'll give you a little bit of our story. So the first thing I want to do is acknowledge maybe some of my Under Armour team that's here as well. You all just raise your hand real quick and let them see you. You see some of our team right here, Kevin, Tommy. In our team, though, like everything, it starts with family. So family is the way it goes. This is my family, right? My family is my wife, DJ, who was my college sweetheart, girlfriend. Met her at senior prom in high school, dated all the way through college. And then she was one, we dated for 11 years. I don't know if you're going to hold any of your girls off for 11 years, but she waited for me for the right reason. But family is something that matters. And that family piece is something for me that defines what and who this company and who we are. So family to me goes to Coach Prime. So I just want to give you the history of like how Coach Prime and I met. Is that when I started Under Armour, I didn't have any money. I used to have this idea of why are athletes wearing these long, soaking wet short sleeve and long sleeve cotton t-shirts underneath their pads? There must be a better alternative. So that idea that I had was, well, what if you made this compression, this tight sleeve shirt? So we started making these sleek, tight, synthetic, long sleeve, short sleeve shirts and long sleeve shirts. And one day I got this phone call when I started my business in this little row house in Georgetown in Washington, D.C. I was living upstairs, had a sales office on the ground floor, keeping inventory in the basement. I was an entrepreneur. I owned Rose business in college. I had a t-shirt business. I was always selling something. And that was part of what made me. Don't just wake up one day and think you're going to be an entrepreneur. Don't just wake up one day and think you're going to be great in social media. You got to earn those things over and over. So I'm in grandma's basement. It's 1996. My first year in revenue, I did $17,000 in sales. 1996. Part of that $17,000 in revenue was I got a phone call one day. This guy calls up and says, hey, my name's Deion Sanders. Call me Primetime. I didn't believe it at the time. And I'm going to show you guys in a second what that was like of getting a phone call like that, what that would be like today. And that phone call said, hey, I'd like to buy these shirts. Can you give me, what's your price of the shirts? I'm like, well, for Dion, for you, I'll give them to you $15 a piece. They're $40, $50. I'll give you $15 a piece. And when I wanted, he said, great, give me 20 of them, $350. I said, 20 of them? $350. He said, yeah. I go, can you give me a credit card? And I kind of just asked, you give me a credit card, you give me a credit card? He's like, no, I don't have a credit card, I'll pay you a check though. And I thought to myself, at least I have the dignity of saying, you have to pay for this without just giving it to you. Because that was something we couldn't do, was keep up with the Joneses, the Nikes, the Adis, these other guys, just giving things away. It was important to establish that he knew with us he had to pay something. However, if he didn't pay me, it was still Deion Sanders wearing my shirts. I thought we were going to be okay. And I'll never forget when he said, don't worry, I'll have a check to you FedEx tomorrow. There was something about your coach that I can tell you, of the hundreds of athletes that reached out to Under Armour at that time, I can probably name one who actually sent that check the next day. That's something that made him different. That made him special. And when you get a phone call from somebody like this I'm about to show you, that's what makes this university so special. That's what culture, and that's like what leadership's all about. So let me give you all like a little snapshot of what your coach was like way back when. Go ahead, tell me.
We got to put in some work, baby, so you better hold on tight. Put your seatbelt on. I cannot wait to get started. When you use both hands, that's gonna lock both legs. And it's tight. When they shut it down, we call it clean.
King Leon Sandcastle. Today we welcome the sensation Leon Sandcastle to the family.
There's an order there. I got a headache coming in when I go through that. Get it to him and leave. Never settle and just be out here. Under Armour, Prime Unit, together. What time is it? You know.
All right, you all get a sense of the big deal. I don't need to tell you that. You get coaching here all the time, which is why he said, I don't do a fireside or anything with you. Kev, you want to talk to the team? You talk to the team. They hear enough from me. So now I want to give you a little story. Story of Under Armour is a simple one, right? Like I said, I started with my team, like who was your team, figuring out who your team was. Under Armour, I was a student athlete. I never liked the way my cotton t-shirt felt beneath my pads. Why doesn't somebody make a better alternative? A short sleeve cotton t-shirt in the summer, long sleeve cotton t-shirt in the winter. Cotton t-shirt dry, comes down to performance. Dry weighs about 6 ounces. Saturated can weigh as much as 3 pounds. As an athlete, do the math. You run around 70, 80 plays during a game, carrying around an extra 3 pounds in your body, you'll be that much less fresh, that much less excited. The idea was, how come nobody's ever addressed this? And the answer was, there wasn't one. So what I ask you to think about as you sit here today, what are those things in your life that are so obvious that only your experience, that only your journey can tell you? How many people in here want to be an entrepreneur? You guys think about that. That's a lot of entrepreneurs, right? How many of you have the idea already, what you want to do? All right? How many of you know you just don't want to work for somebody else? Yeah, exactly, right? That's right. You know why? Because you can bet on yourself. And that is the direction of where you want to go and how you want to think about life. But you can't do that without a team, without a network. So for me, I was 22 years old, graduating from college. No idea what I wanted to do. All I knew is I didn't want to work for somebody else. All I knew is that I was a pretty good entrepreneur. From shoveling snow when I was a kid, mowing lawns, lemonade stands, selling t-shirts at concerts when they came through town. A Rose delivery service, February 14th every year. It's one thing the NCAA said, you're not allowed to get a job. They didn't say anything about starting a business though. You guys have a different world today. You've got NIL, you've got social media, you've got the ability to expand yourself and expand your networks. So I'm just giving you a little bit of my experience of what I utilize, that I think the things that still translate today. So let's start with it real, right? So I graduated from school, had this concept, didn't know anything about manufacturing, went to a local fabric store, bought some material, fit the idea I had, this synthetic stretchy material, took it to a local tailor, made up 6 prototypes, gave them out to my teammates. Guys came back and said, I love it. I want to make more. I didn't know anything about manufacturing. I heard about this place in New York City called the Garment District. Got in my car, drove to New York, parked, started walking around. How do I make a t-shirt? How would you make one that stretches like this? found this right fabric place, found the right manufacturer, made up my first 500 t-shirts, loaded up my car. And then what I did is I used my network. And my network was something that was really big. And my network was something that when I played, I had a high school team, a place called St. John's College High School. We had a good team that year in D.C. Any D.C. kids in here? We'll work on that, Coach. We'll get more. Good to see you. What school?
I went to Paint Branch in Montgomery County, Maryland.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Where are you from? All right. Super good, man. So welcome. It's good to be here too. But part of that, like, knowledge of who I knew from my high school, St. John's, we won the Metro Championship that year. We had a pretty good team. We had 11 guys signed Division I scholarships. But then what I didn't realize is I also went to this place called Fork Union. I went to another year of high school. I had to go to prep school for a year. And on that Fork Union team, we started with a one-year prep school program. It's like you finish high school, you got one extra year. You don't burn out your college eligibility. And Fork Union was this, it was a bit of a factory at the time. We had 135 guys on our team. Coach realized he had too many players. So he decided, he said, how are we gonna run them off? So we ran 3 days for 35 days. By the end of 3 days, we had 65 guys left on our team. Of those 65 guys, 23 signed Division I scholarships. I ended up walking on at Maryland. I wasn't one of those 23. And of the 23, 13 wound up getting drafted. 4 of them were first-round draft picks. And one dude won the Heisman Trophy in Eddie George. So all of a sudden, I'm looking at my network. I'm going, my high school team. I had 11 guys signed Division I for my high school team. 4 made it to the NFL from there. Then all of a sudden, my prep school team. I realized I had 23 guys signed Division I. 13 got drafted. Then all of a sudden, at University of Maryland, there's 15, 20 guys playing the NFL at any given time from Maryland. So as an athlete coming out of school, I'm 22, 23 years old, just like you all right now, and I'm going, I now have a network that nobody's ever really thought about. And my network, I know between my friends of friends, my best friend from Fork Union, his best friend from high school, who went to Arizona State and roomed with Jake Plummer, who was a first-round draft pick for the Arizona Cardinals. Well, his high school best friend was a guy named Tony Baselli, the #1 draft pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And you start putting this together and going, oh man, look at the size of the network I have. And I know right now 50 to 60 different friends of mine are playing at the next level in the NFL. But what do we know about the NFL? How long is the average career in the NFL? 3 years and 3 games, right? There's a reason that's when your pension kicks in right there, because that's when it falls off. So that means I've got this window. I know 50 to 60 guys, but those relationships are going to get stale in about 3 years and 3 games, with the exception of the 1 or 2 that make it that much longer. So what can I do to leverage this network and take it to the next level? And that theme for me was this idea of building my team and leveraging it then. And I actually had the idea of the network that I had before I even realized the product that I came up with. You all think about the exposure, the limelight that you have right now, to the left and to the right of you, of who's going to be that Heisman Trophy winner, right? Who will just be that great NFL player? Who will be the one that gets the big deal? How do you leverage that without being the one calling and saying, congratulations, you're making all this money, loan me money, give me money, versus how do you say, you know what? I had this concept for this idea, and saying, I put together, of those 500 shirts I made in New York City, I put together packages. I sent the 50 or 60 guys I know, sent about 65 packages out, and I sent everybody 3 shirts. I said, do me a favor, try this product. And if you like it, wear it. And if you really like it, give it one to each guy in the locker next to you. And if you want more, you tell your equipment manager, where's Dominique? Yeah, you tell Dominique, and you tell her no, and say, you then call him back, and you pay for it. Which is why the idea of keeping up with the Joneses, that when Coach Prime called me, it was so important to establish that we don't just give it away. You just don't get the milk, right? You have to pay for the cow. You got to pay for what comes together. And you have to be able to see and visualize that. And that was the one thing about our journey, which was so important, of recognizing the team that I have. And I'll challenge you right now, you've got a team. You may not have thought about it. And it's bigger than just football, but you leverage the team. You leverage the coaches. You leverage when game day comes through here. You walk up, Mr. Herbstreit, it's a pleasure to meet you. Remember when I met you before? You sent him a letter, thanks so much for coming to Jackson State. You write a letter to the athletic director. You write a letter to the president. You make yourself be heard. Thank you for my scholarship to the trustees, the people you be talking to jobs. Your network is all around you, and it probably has a limited amount of time. Maybe not as quick as 3 years and 3 games, but you better access that as best you can. So when you think about that, like part of that access was about storytelling. So with Under Armour, we got going. That first year in business, we did $17,000 in revenue. Just give you all some perspective. That next year in business, $110,000. The next year in business, $400,000. Next year, $1.3 million. Next year, $5 million. Our first 5 years in business, growing from 0 to $5 million. The next 5 years, we grew from $5 million to just under $300 million in revenue. That's how it happens. And all of a sudden, you're like, how did I get here? The next 5 years, from $300 million to crossing $1 billion in revenue. And the next 5 years after that, $1 billion to crossing $5 billion in revenue. Today, Under Armour is a $6-something billion company. And none of that happens without that first sale. None of that happens without that first belief. And what I'll tell you is the experience that I had throughout my life, different this and different background, different pieces, but all together, like I dreamed of running out of that tunnel. I wanted to be next to my brothers. I wanted to be on a team. Like that was the only thing that consumed me. And I'm telling you, the same experience that I had is as you sit here as student athletes right now, we have very similar experiences. That you have the ability to take and do what you want. But I want you to think about it. I want you to push it. So let me give you a little story now. Because part of that story comes from here. You know, what happens with Build Your Team? One of the things we did is we created this iconic story about our company. We use this message that we have called Protect This House. And I'm going to show you something that's 20 years old, but part of what makes it exciting is we're going to show you how we're going to bring it back in 2023. But Protect This House was something that wasn't just big, it wasn't just a statement that was said for an advertising slogan, it was something that took hold and that took light. That teams from all over, whether they loved Under Armour, wore Under Armour, have heard us, it just became its own sort of icon. And this is time before things went viral with social, but just take a minute and just read this.
What's the darkest thing? And now we're on top. Everybody's trying to knock us over. It's us versus them. We must protect this house. Will you protect this house? We must protect this house.
Compelling image from the Espn Awards. First, the Under Armour dude walks in. You know the one, chiseled brother. Will you protect this house?
I watch a lot of football on Sundays, and they keep running this commercial.
We must protect this house.
And that's the way I spend the rest of my Sunday and most of Monday screaming.
We must protect this house.
And for the family, it gets old in a hurry. And now I'm having difficulty purging myself of the urge to say,
We must protect this house.
Well, don't purge yourself. Just go with it.
why don't you try one?
Try it. I don't know if I can do it.
Let me hear it.
Let me hear it again.
No, I've done it 8 times. You try
I'm going to try it.
We must protect this house. Will you protect this house tonight? We must protect this house, baby. We must protect this house.
All right, so we'll bring a little Protect This House back, all right? So, not the way, we ain't playing Freebird. We ain't gonna do the same thing we did before. But that's part of the reaction that I actually wanted to see from you all, because this is part of me learning today, too. So I got something for you, not just taking, but I got something for you to do that. This next piece I want to bring you into is just want to remind you of the second thing I want to talk about, which is bet on yourself. There's one thing about Under Armour that matters, is I think if you look at our stable of athletes, you look at the crew that we put together, it's not luck, it's not paying them big money. It was the fact that each one of them found their way to us for a reason, because they were Under Armour athletes. That was an Under Armour girl. That's an Under Armour guy. Coach had that Under Armour DNA, which is what's tied us together going all the way back to 2009. And frankly, all the way back to 1997, sitting in grandma's basement. Not a lot of normal people make that phone call. Even less normal people actually write that check and put it in the mail, have that thing FedEx. And I'll tell you, that $350 meant the world to me. Bet on yourself. It is the lessons in the message. It is the Joel Embiids. Somebody coming from a place where basketball never even existed, coming from Cameroon, right? It is the LA Bostons. It is the Lindsey Vonns. It is the Tom Brady mentality. It's the Steph Curry. And that Steph Curry is something that does, when people ask, it's like, where does Steph come from? 3-star athlete, rejected from his dad's school, Virginia Tech. Nobody gave him a look or a chance. It almost feels like it's played out at this point, but even going back to when we signed Steph, going back in 2011, there weren't people lining up for Steph Curry, but it was about our belief in him. And I'll never forget, I'll tell you this, is that we spent time trying to sign Blake Griffin. We tried signing Blake Griffin, and I'll tell you there's a difference. You watch Blake Griffin, no disrespect, good basketball player, but there's a difference in the kind of athlete that wants the ball at the end of the game. He's calling for that ball. He's not passing, he's not dishing, because they want it. They want that pressure on them. And the same thing when you say, we're gonna put basketball on your shoulders. We're gonna put Under Armour basketball on your shoulders. And there was one guy who actually answered the bell in a really big way, and somebody we're really proud of. And so this is a little spot we put together about Stephen Curry. Please enjoy.
People say, what do you think about when you shoot?
Come on, Steph. You gotta make your first shot.
To know what a perfect shot feels like, you have to earn that love for basketball and natural ability. It can only take you so far. The real work is what people don't see. Hours and hours and hours and reps every single day. At the time, you don't really know if it's gonna pay off.
Curry fire!
But you kind of have faith and believe that it will. Perfecting that craft, when I know the feeling that flows from your feet all the way to the top of the release, and then you just kind of let the rest go. So when people say, what do you think about when you shoot? Like, absolutely nothing.
Give it a little for Steph and Curry. So the last point I want to cover with you was keeping the main thing the main thing. You know, that's important. At Under Armour, the way that I think about leading the company today is being a part of it, and what that means with now more than 18,000 teammates we have all over the world, doing business over 100 countries, 40-some different offices that we have. Days like today, Cyber Monday, we got 47 websites around the world that are doing business right now. And we think about the things of how we make decisions that matter for our brand. I want you to think about this. Do you have a lens? You guys got a lot of decisions coming up. You're finishing school, deciding what you want to do. Maybe football is an option, maybe it's not. How do you leverage what you have? How do you put your team together? For us, we have a lens that I use to make every decision at Under Armour. And right now, it took me a long time to sort of come up with it, and it changes. But my current one is there's 3 criteria. The number one thing I ask, I say, is this something worth us doing? Should this be an investment we're going to make? And so I say these 3 questions. I said, number one, does it inspire our team? Does what I'm about to do, does this inspire those 18,000 teammates around the world? Does it get them going, I'm proud to be a part of this. I want to be a part of this. Does what we're going to do, does it inspire? You're a part of our team, which is why I'm here, because that's what listening is all about too. Number 2, I ask, does it inspire or give confidence to our key stakeholders? That's our partners. It's Jackson State, it's Coach Prime saying, oh, I like what Under Armour's doing. I like the direction they're going. Our shareholders on Wall Street, you know, that's a tough bunch as well. In public 17 years, that is a complicated place to be. So is what we're about to do they think it's a good financial decision? Right? And number 3, I like this one and I think it makes sense, is we ask ourselves the question, does it put fear into our competition? Does what we're about to do put fear into our competition? Does it make them go, damn, why didn't we think of that? Why did they do that? Why did they beat us to that punch? Do we think like that? That criteria, those 3 ways, I can tell you, it changes all the time for me, but I'm always thinking through that lens. And it makes a lot of really hard decisions a lot simpler in our lives. And that bet on yourself, And what that means of going back, of keeping the main thing, that for us, it's always been about innovation. Our roadmap as a company has always been innovation. And we can talk about these guys are cool, or they've got this artist, or they've got that one. Like, we get it. We'll be in that game. We're in that game. We want to be one of the big three, was always being a part of that conversation, of making us with those other two big companies. And everybody else, we don't care. We don't care. But what we want to do is we want to inspire our team to put fear into our competition. And the way we do that is through innovation. It's constant innovation. It's that first soaking wet, sweaty t-shirt that a student athlete on a football field felt, of saying that motivates me enough to build something, that there's something bigger than just a better t-shirt. But there's a concept, there's a theory that comes that makes it Under Armour. And so what we're doing is we're constantly trying to innovate. And so what I want to do now is I want to shift gears into what our next innovation is. And I want to show you all that too. Because I think you all are due for a gift. You got a big game this weekend. Talking about winning championships and what that SWAC championship is going to look like. We're going to show you something that we have next. And this is called UA Slip Speed, which is a little commercial that we have for this new shoe that we just put out. I just want to show you this using one of our NIL athletes from up back in the DMV way. But this is something called UA Slip Speed. That doesn't just happen, right? That happens from knowing the athlete. Kim Jarrett's kid played at Westlake football in Maryland. I've known that since, because St. John's, the place where I went to high school, they actually pulled kids from Westlake group. Westlake then pulls into St. John's. St. John's goes to Maryland. Like, I've known that kid my whole life, right? He's one of the best people that I know. And I know he's taking a shot to make it to the next level. Knowing the athlete, we started with that ingredient. Then we had this incredibly innovative product. Like, what do I do with this innovative product? How do we tell this story? Then all of a sudden we thought about who's the right sound to make that happen. Anybody recognize the artist? He's a DMV artist, dude named Logic. Logic's launched dropped a new commercial or a new album called College Park, which is actually coming out in just a few months. And the serendipity of how all these things fell together was not just luck, it was like some of them meant to be. How'd you all like the track though?
I like that.
Yeah, that's his. Yeah, when we went to see him in the studio. So I'm gonna be recording up in New York. I'm like, you mind if I come see you? He's like, I'm not having this corporate dude come see me. I was basically like, I need to come see you. And what I did is I sat down, I said, let me tell you the story of this product and why I care so much. Let me tell you about the athlete who's gonna be in the spot. Let me tell you about the innovation, the thought that went into the product behind it. And I want you to know, most importantly, that we care, and I need you to lay your body out for this as well, because this is how great things happen. They don't just happen accidentally. And so what Logic did, he didn't just make us music, he took the #1 new track from his new album that hadn't even dropped yet, and he put that on our commercial. Awesome. So what I'm gonna give you all now is I'm gonna give you 217 seconds of what world-class salesmanship looks like. And so I'm gonna put myself on the spot. So if you let me close this out, I wanna show you one thing, because I wanna tell you about this shoe. This is one thing that Prime does. Whatever you do, be a professional. It's my highest compliment to anybody. Be a professional coach. Be professional as a student athlete. Be professional as you move to the next level. Be a professional in your whatever you do. So in footwear, I'm going to give you all this pitch. There's 3 components to a shoe. You have an upper, you have a midsole, you have an outsole. That outsole is typically rubber, if you see it before. We call that the chassis, the outsole. So with this shoe, we actually started with something that we did knew was close to home. Stephen Curry came to us about 4 years ago. And he said, I'm having trouble getting my shot off. My team has decided if we can get 0.015 seconds back on my shot off, I'll be able to increase myself from 27 points to 30-some points. And they did the math on this, the science that went into it. So we went to work with Dow Chemical. We figured out how to take the rubber off the bottom of the shoe. And that rubber, you walk into a basketball gym, you hear two sounds. The ball bouncing and what? That squeak. That squeak is actually the rubber sliding on the wood. That rubber is also not good for the environment. So we ended up building this thing called UA Flow. Steph asked us to launch Flow in his new shoe. So we launched this new outsole called Flow. And the grip on this shoe is unlike anything you've ever seen. Steph actually had to learn how to play in the shoe and not come over the top of his knees and blow a knee out because it was so grippy and sticky. So we've had to adjust it and tune it back. But that's the grip and the texture that we put into this shoe. There's 6 features of this, and it always starts with the chassis, which is the outsole. That outsole then builds to the upper. We put this perforated synthetic leather upper for breathability. You see this little chrome hit on the back that locks in your heel counter, so when you all are training, this gives you ultimate maximum performance. The third thing we do is we put this BOA lockdown system on it. You all ever seen a BOA lockdown system and a lacing system before? It's been like in trail shoes, maybe cycling shoes, things like that. But you're never going to have to tie your shoes. Who doesn't like tying their shoes? Everybody, right? So the way this BOA works, you pop this thing up simply, you loosen the BOA laces, you want it loose, or you want to tighten it up, pop the BOA down, you just wind that in. 6 points on the lateral side, 6 points on the medial side. Be the best grip you've ever had. Lock down your shoe, and again, it tunes it in perfectly. The inside of this shoe, we took 16th-inch foam. We learned this from the mass and going through COVID this whole time. Lined the entire shoe with a 16th-inch foam. Took something called Under Armour Iso Chill. It's a lot of our like golf shirts, golf polos. Feels like 8 to 9 degrees cooler to the touch. So the inside of it's lined like that. You put your finger in it, it feels cushy, and it feels like it's actually squishy. It also feels cool. Neat thing about that, if it feels that good, kind of like the inside of a slipper, you're probably going to wear it without socks. You wear it without socks, it's going to get stinky. Don't worry, this shoe comes with a laundry bag. You can wash this shoe. This shoe's been washed 9 times.
At least.
I can't tell, but it smells so good, Tommy. This shoe is unbelievable. And then the coolest thing about this shoe, as well as what we did, is for kids, you're going to wear it that way because of the comfort level. We made the shoe a convertible. So the back heel just pops down, you just step on it. You want to wear this thing in maximum performance mode, ultimate performance, crank this thing up, tune it in. You want to wear it down like a slide, throw your Crocs out, get rid of everything else you had. This is our job, to keep innovating. So, the good news, we ain't doing that just coming to show is you guys deserve gifts. This has been a great season. Congratulations on where you are. We know you're going to bigger and higher places. So we've actually brought some shoes with us. And so, my dear, can we please bring a round of applause?
Let me give her